Hi, this is Monica Radcliffe with Instructional Technology. Today we will be taking a closer look at a district application, Safari Montage. Safari Montage is a learning object repository, also known as the LOR, that has a multitude of features and purposes. Educators can upload digital content that can be shared with colleagues in their school and across the district as exemplars. Digital content that is aligned to Georgia standards is part of the LOR as well. Classroom camera footage is managed through Safari, and Safari also integrates with certain components of Microsoft Teams. Today's training will focus on learning targets that will assist teachers and students with the district's RTI efforts. Let's look at some of the benefits of using Safari Montage. We've already talked about classroom camera recording and management, uploading and storing digital content in the LOR, and then creating playlists where we can organize digital content for instruction that I as a teacher can teach from, organizing digital content for student remediation and enrichment, and then simply just creating a place to hold common resources. Our learning targets for today are explore the dashboard of Safari Montage, create a playlist, search for standards-aligned content, assign digital content to a playlist, and then practice sharing a playlist with Microsoft Teams. Now that we know what our learning targets are for today, I'm going to go ahead and hop over to ClassLink. And inside of ClassLink, I have a multitude of icons, but I'm looking for Safari Montage. If you don't have a Safari Montage icon, anytime that you need to search, you just click in the search field and you could type Safari. I'll click on Safari Montage and immediately it takes me to the Safari Montage dashboard. If you had a problem logging into Safari via ClassLink, all you would have to do is type in safari.bcsdk12.net and then you would use your Active Directory credentials, first name dot last name, and then your password that you use to access your computer and your email. Let's look at the dashboard for a minute. Icons that we're going to actually focus on in this training have to do with the search feature, also the upload button. When we upload content, whether it's a lesson plan or a template that I want to use or anything that I really want to use in my instruction, or maybe it's an article that I want my students to read, when I upload it, it ends up living in My Files. My Files is just a folder that contains all of my uploaded documents, and they're private until I choose to share them. And then playlist. Playlist is where we're going to go in just a little bit, and that's where we will create a playlist and then we will actually put content on the playlist. In the top right hand corner of your screen, you should see your name, the school that you're assigned, your current room number, because that's how Safari knows what camera to assign you to, and the logout option. Now what we want to do is we want to come over and we want to start searching all of the digital content in Safari. So I'm going to click on search. When the search window loads, you'll notice that down the left hand side of the screen there's some search tips that are very similar to what we use when we go to a search engine like Google. Then across the top you'll see a blue menu bar that has the word dashboard on it and goes all the way over to the right with help. So what we want to do now is we want to come straight down to the keyword search. Once again, if we wanted to search on a content topic, we could do that, such as persuasive writing. But before I click on the magnifying glass to search for the phrase persuasive writing, for the best results, I'll need to put that in quotation marks. And then click on the magnifying glass. When the content loads, you'll be able to scroll through and see what the best matches are for persuasive writing. And notice across the top that it's always going to start out with the video. All of the videos are going to be listed, and then each one of these tabs might also have a number under it. And if you click on the tab Web that has 10 items on it, this one actually points to Discovery Education. So it's an actual web link that has to do with persuasive writing that is relevant to the metadata that is shown right here about illegal immigration. There's 20 other playlists that are listed that have to do or have content on them regarding persuasive writing that others that use Safari have shared. There's one assessment, 4 lessons, and we can go all the way across to see the content. The easiest way to clear the keyword search field is to come over to the word reset on the far right hand side. And here we are back at keyword. So if I wanted to type in a solar eclipse as a phrase, be sure to put it in quotes and then click on the magnifying glass. Then we could scroll and we could see all of the items that are listed that are actually videos. There's 46 different web links and so forth. So it takes a little bit of time just to get used to this particular search screen, but notice that I can also select a grade range, and I can also go through and select a particular publisher. If I wanted to search on just Discovery Education content that had to do with the phrase or contained the phrase solar eclipse. So currently we're looking at the first 25 of 43 links out to Discovery Education that contain the phrase solar eclipse. So you can see that with all of the publishers that are built into Safari, this is a great tool to go ahead and basically search whether we want to search on a topic or if we actually want to move over to the publisher. And then in just a little bit, we're actually going to search by Georgia standards. The easiest way to reset, once again, is to click on Reset. Now it's time to pause so that you can actually do some individualized work in your first work session. Your work session number 1 file should have been downloaded from the Files area in your school's team. Your facilitator will pause for a 10-minute work session. Now that we're back, it's time to create a playlist. On the Safari dashboard, if I click on the icon Playlist, it takes me to the screen that shows any of my recent playlists that I have created or that I've used that were shared with me. What I want to do now is I want to come up to the far right corner and click on the phrase New Playlist. As you can see, there are fields that I need to complete, and the first thing I want to do is put in a relevant title. The playlist title for this particular playlist will be Life Science. The subject will be Georgia Habitats. I'm going to use this as part of my instructional lesson, so the learning resource type, I have selected Lesson. I've also selected a grade range, Grade 3 to Grade 3. And my essential question is typed in. Identify different plants and organisms found in different regions of Georgia. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to modify this and say, I can identify. The description, I could put more of my scope and sequence. if I wanted to. And then under objectives, if there are other learning targets that go with this particular lesson or unit, I can go ahead and list them here. Any student instructions, say that I wanted to have a student teacher follow this, I could put in student instructions here. Then I'm going to click on Save. And now I have my first playlist, Life Science. With an essential question, I can identify different plants and organisms found in different regions of Georgia. If at any point in time I needed to modify this particular playlist, I would come over to all of these icons that are listed, and underneath the pencil you see Edit. So I can click on Edit, and notice it takes me right back to where we just left. So I'm going to come down to the bottom and cancel. Now, some other icons that are going to be very important coming up later. If I want to share, once I have this particular playlist populated like I want it, and I want to share it with all of my other third grade colleagues, I'll be able to click on Share, and it will become shared at the school level. There's also different views up here that I want to point out. There is a list view, and currently we don't have anything on this particular life science playlist, but we're going to change that in just a minute. But if your screen for some reason doesn't look like your neighbor's or mine at some point when we're talking about how we're viewing our playlist, it's probably because there's a different view that's been selected. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to come over across the blue menu bar, and we want to click on Standards. We want to find some content that's relevant to third grade life science that I'm supposed to teach. So here you can see on this particular screen, once I've clicked on Standards, I can choose my state, Standards of Excellence, Standards Excellence of Science, and I clicked on that just so you could see what you have to choose from. And then I'm going to leave the grade range open for just a minute, and then I'm going to click on Search. And I want you to see what it yielded. It yields all of the Standards of Excellence for Science, pre-K through adult. So you can see the nomenclature as we're coming down, looking at each one of these areas, and it has out beside each one grade 2. So isn't this a fabulous way, for instance, like new teachers, our new waiver teachers who are trying to learn so much and get acquainted with everything that's relevant to the classroom, for them to come here, search by standard, and find some already correlated content. So here you can see S3L, third grade life science. That's what I'm going to click on. And then you can see that the first standard says obtain, evaluate, and communicate information about the similarities and difference between plants, animals, and habitats found within geographic regions that are listed in Georgia. So what I want to show you on this particular screen is if I just wanted to focus on S3L1A, ask questions to differentiate between plants, animals, and habitats found within Georgia's geographic regions. Over here on the far right side, there are 19 titles that are currently correlated within the lore of Safari to that particular standard S3L1A. So I'm going to click on those. So here you can see a long list of items that have to do with different habitats, different species, organisms, and I'm just continuing to scroll down. And also let me point out that some of these videos are already in Spanish for our ESOL students. So, marsh, currently relevant to one of the regions and areas in Georgia. So what I want to do is I want to add this to my playlist. So I'm going to click on underneath marsh, and if I wanted the Spanish version, I could come down and add it to the playlist as well. But I'm going to click on the icon underneath that says add to playlist. As soon as the playlist window loads, it will show a list of all of my playlists and the one that has been used most recently. And of course, that's my active playlist because I just created Life Science. So what I'm going to do is come straight across and click on the icon that says Add Here. When I click on this icon, Add Here, it will take the entire Marsh video content and put it on my Life Science playlist. Now I'm going to click on Close. Now that we've added Marsh video content to our playlist, I want to scroll all the way back up to the top and I want to click on Playlist because I want to verify that the content actually made it. So from the playlist that are showing, I can see Life Science and I can click on Life Science. Now it's time for the facilitator to pause for a 25-minute work session. This will be work session number 2 that's part of the work session file that you've already downloaded. Now that we're back, we need to go ahead and upload some files that we want to add to our playlist. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Then I'm going to click on the Upload icon. There is a Browse and Upload File button. And this is where I'm going to double click and then I'm going to be taken out to my desktop. On my desktop there is a location, or a folder I should say, named Life Science. I'm going to double click on that and there's a Habitat Study Guide that I'm going to select and click on Open, and it has been added to my files. Every time you upload a file, this just happens to be a Habitat Study Guide that is a PDF file. What I want to do is I want to be able to click on each one of these icons. And notice that this is descriptive information about just this one file. And I want to be sure that it is got the proper permissions. I want to go ahead and make this particular file shareable. Even though I'm going to make my playlist shareable, each individual piece of content needs to be shareable and shared as well. So now I'm going to click on Save and Continue. There are other permissions that I want to click and make sure that are set. Grant permission to all. That's perfect. So I'll return to the prior screen, and anytime that I need to change any permissions or rights management, all I have to do is come back and edit, and it'll give me this particular list to choose from. So back to the dashboard, and we're going to upload one more file. And this is simply a KWL chart that I have tweaked just a little bit that I want to add to my files. I need to go in, and if I wanted to edit the title of the document, I could. All I have to do is just change the title here. But notice it starts out with KWL, so if I direct my students there, they're going to know, if I say reference the KWL chart in that particular playlist, they'll know exactly where to go. I want to come down and be sure that permissions for sharing this is already set, which I just did. Save and continue. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to go back to the dashboard, and I want to go to My Files. Here I can see there's the KWL chart, there's the Habitat Study Guide that's in a PDF format, and a bunch of other things that I've used in the past. So what we'd like to do now is we'd like to add these particular 2 files to the playlist. you can see that there is an Add to Playlist button right underneath the KWL chart. I'm going to click on that. The screen should look familiar. Life Science is my active playlist, and I'm going to click Add here. And it tells me that it's been added to the playlist, and I'll click on Close. I'll come over to Habitat Study Guide, and I'll do the same thing. I'm going to click on Add to Playlist, Add here, and click on Close. Now when looking at these two particular objects on the screen, you can see that Playlist has a check, no longer a plus, but a check to let me know that it was added. So to verify that, I need to click on Playlist, click on my Life Science playlist. I can scroll down and I can see that my study guide as well as my KWL chart are both listed. Now it may be that I want to use these documents in a different order if I were to teach from this playlist. So notice that there's the four-headed arrow that I can drag and drop if I wanted to go ahead and start with the KWL. Then maybe let the students do some learning on their own by watching Marsh, and then introduce them to the Habitat Study Guide. Multiple ways to do many things, but now you should be able to create a playlist and add items to it. Be sure, once again, as a reminder, that each one of these items are shared. And now it's time to share the Life Science playlist. So I'm going to come over to the share icon and I'm going to click. And that was too easy. If this icon says unshare, then you know that your particular playlist is shared at the school level, which means when your colleagues that are located at your school go in and search, they should now find Life Science showing up if they were to search for Marsh, for instance, or Georgia Habitats, anything that's in the metadata that is shown here. Now let's explore how we can share playlist content with our students that are also members in Microsoft Teams. So you'll notice that the playlist that we just shared has a Teams icon. I'm going to click on Unshare, and notice the Teams icon went away. So if you're ever wanting to share content on a playlist with Teams, be sure that it's shared within Safari, and now we can click on Teams. What I'd like to do is, first of all, select my class and Radcliffe's Radicals. Those are my kids in my class. So I'm going to choose an action from the drop-down. Let's create an assignment. And click on Go. So what is it that I want my students to do with this particular content? Well, they're going to see everything on the playlist, and notice there's a little screenshot right here, or a little thumbnail of the KWL chart. So enter the assignment name. I'm going to say KWL chart. What do we know about Georgia Habitats? What do we know right now about Georgia Habitats? List what you know in the first column of the KWL chart. And I can set a due date. We'll give them till Friday. And we're going to post this. you have posted to your team. So I'm going to click on OK. And now I'm going to launch Microsoft Teams. I'm going to click on Teams, and then I'm going to scroll to find Radcliffe's Radicals. Here we go. So under Radcliffe's Radicals class and team, there's a KWL chart. What do you know about Georgia? And it says view the assignment. So I'm going to click on this, and it automatically switches to assignment. I'm going to look at the student view, and my instructions show here. List what you know in the first column of the KWL. What do you know about Georgia habitats? It's worth 100 possible points. And notice life science is right there. When I clicked on in the student view, as a student on the life science link, it took me straight to Safari Montage, and these are the 3 different items. And remember the views that we can choose from for the playlist? The classic view, which is more of a list. The teacher view, which is what was showing just a moment ago. And then this last view. We just posted an assignment in Teams, and now what I want to do is I want to post an announcement in Teams. 2 different actions. So when I'm on the playlist screen, I clicked on Teams again. I'm going to choose my class, Radcliffe's Radicals. The action will be an announcement. And this is a great place for us to be able to tier content. That we might have a certain group of students in the classroom sitting together working on, whether they're teams of students, a red team, a blue team this week, based on the data that we're looking at. So I've created different channels, and then I can actually post different content to that particular channel. So this week, students in the red team are going to go to the red breakout room, and I'm going to click on Go. So this is where I would post specific directions that would be for the students working on the red team in the red group. Complete what you know about the Piedmont region of Georgia. And post it. And click on OK. So now what I need to do is I need to go show you what that looks like in my particular team. So when I come over to Radcliffe's Radicals class in Teams and come down to the red room, you can see what's posted on the main thread under Post that says complete what you know about the Piedmont region of Georgia. So if it says click to play, notice it's going to take me straight back to Safari Montage. Now your facilitator will pause for a 30-minute breakout session. Please reference the handout, the file that you downloaded titled Breakout Session. You will return after 30 minutes so that we can have a moment for closing. As we close the training for Safari Montage today, we can reflect on the learning targets that we were able to talk about first thing this morning. I hope at this point you can at least say I can in front of each one of these learning targets. Please call on your instructional technology coaches, your technology specialist, and myself. We'll be glad to help you with further instruction using Safari Montage. Have a great day.